focused on.
Thanks, Raghav, for taking the time for this meeting. How long do you have today? Because you said you're quite in a rush.
I've got a conference call in about 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
But
yeah,
look, I mean, we can always meet again. Yeah.
Maybe before we start, can you tell me a little bit more about you really in general, how your team is structured, who does what in the workflow?
Yeah, we're actually quite a lean organization. So when we started, my colleague Ted started the business 7 years ago. We structured it as a partnership. I'm one of the partners. I manage the Global Opportunities Fund. I've got 3 analysts working with me here in Basel, and I've got 1 analyst based in Hong Kong because we're spending more time looking at Asia. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, from time to time, we bring in interns. I should also mention that I have another colleague, Jim, who runs a pure US quant fund at the moment. So it's about 7 of us.
Okay, great. I mean, you already mentioned it that you have 1 colleague sitting in London and that you spend more and more time on Asia.
In Hong Kong.
Yeah, an investment in Asia. What's the percentage, if you can, just roughly?
It's still really early days for us in Asia. I mean, we started looking at Asian markets really in 2011 and 12. Mm-hmm. You remember there was a big sell-off in that year. And I would say, maybe about 10 to 15% of the global portfolio is now in Asia listed names. But if we were to add other names that are thematically tied to Asia, then it's maybe close to a third.
Okay, and the long-term view of your side, I assume, is also to invest more and more into Asia and increase that fraction?
Not necessarily. We're a global opportunities fund. We see increasing growth opportunities in Asia right now. If that changes, then we don't need to in Asia.
Okay, great. I'm just asking because to be really transparent at this stage, our content coverage is really strong in Asia, but we are building up Europe and the rest of the world at the moment, and it's just starting. I mean, the first big wave will come in a couple of months, but to have a fuller universe, global universe, I think it will take a year. So just to set the expectations at this point. All right, maybe as you understand already, we are a research network. So one part is obviously the content, which is on our platform next to the engagement and the bespoke services that we will cover in the second half. But when we talk about the content itself, where do you currently get your research from? Is it purely investment banks or also some independent researchers?
Well, I mean, we do speak to some of the larger investment banks, but we don't use prime brokers because I'm running a long-only strategy. But from time to time, we also engage consultants on specific projects if it's a big theme.
Okay, from DLG?
But no, we do industry consultants where in specific industries.
Okay.
We've tried using expert networks, but our LPs don't allow it for compliance reasons. Another thing that we do is we lend a lot of emphasis on being, very independent-minded. So, that's why I have 3 analysts. We're taking long-term views and we're doing a lot of in-house research.
Okay. So I understand from that you don't see maybe the biggest value in investment banking research at the moment. How it is?
Well, at least it gives us sort of a good flavor of what where investors are positioned, and we can track some of the big things that most people are talking about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you are not using any research. It's just your 4 analysts producing the insights, coming with investment ideas to yourself.
Pretty much.
Okay, understood. So because that's basically how we are used with most of the client as a complementary insight or content platform next to investment banking research and to the normal insights that your analysts produce to provide you really with timely, really quick insights on the hot topics of the market. At the moment, We have more than 450 insight providers on the platform. All of them follow a strict compliance process. We really need to make sure that the quality of these providers is high enough. All of them are, you already mentioned, you work with consultants. Some of them have been engaged in the industry for years, being automobile experts or banking, working in banks, and then producing research. So that could be also quite interesting for you. And maybe next to this content, pure content part, where they produce their pieces around 30 a day, it's also possible for you to license bespoke services, so to approach them directly for certain research projects, replacing or adding value next to your consultancy approach. But yeah, maybe coming a little bit back to your workflow, when you analyze the whole process at the moment, even how good it goes at the moment, I mean, your performance is quite good. Where do you see place for improvement in that process?
Yeah, I think one of our biggest challenges has been to figure out what are the best ways to implement a particular theme. So we might have done big research and known of I don't know, maybe European ideas or something, but they might not be the best ways to get exposure. So we're constantly thinking of better ways of connecting the dots and really finding ways to implement our themes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I mean that's really one part where Smart Karma is strong, because we are, due to the fact that we are purely independent, the insights and thematic research is often also contrarian to what the market says. I mean, you got this covered quite well with the prime brokers, but if you really need...
No, I don't use prime brokers.
Ah, you don't use them at all? Just
because
rarely, okay.
Yeah, we're not running a hedge fund.
Sorry, investment banking research, sorry. But you use investment banking research, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I mean, like you got most of the stuff covered quite good with investment banking research, but next to it, if you really need some contrarian, also sometimes pieces, that's where we are pretty good at. The long-short ratios, just to give you a perspective.
So one thing you haven't told me at all is what is Smart Karma? I've never really heard of you guys.
Yeah, so pitching it in the beginning, but then we just had 15 minutes. Yeah, Smart Karma is basically, maybe let me tell you the story, how it all began. So, a couple of years back, two people, Raghav Kapoor and John Foster, both of them coming from the industry, really they sat together and they thought of like, okay, what do we do now? Because they were working for another research group, or had their own research boutique that they sold successfully later on. And they were thinking like, what should we do now after the sale? Should we found another boutique, or what can we really do in the end? It will be all the same and it won't solve real problems in the market, like fragmentation of this industry, highly conflicted parts of this industry. So they sat together and then they had this, more or less this Airbnb moment or Uber moment, where they said, okay, no, let's try something new and let's unite this place in an independent, value-added way. And that's how they started building out Smart Karma from Singapore. And I would say at the moment, Smart Karma in Asia is definitely the strongest independent network. And it's really not only about the content side, what we discussed earlier, it's also about engaging actively in the platform, in the network.
So how do you think my team can, leverage Smart Karma? What would be some key ways?
I mean, for me, it's basically there are two sides. So one side is, of course, having interesting oppository insights on your current portfolio holdings. Then next to these portfolio holdings, getting interesting ideas on hot topics, being thematic or equity bottom up or whatever. But the other big chunk next to this content is definitely bespoke services. You use already consultants, industry experts. You pay a lot of, or our clients pay a lot of money for them. I think there's a good way also from an economic perspective to engage more actively with bespoke services.
Right. So, what's the sort of business model or pricing model like for you?
Very easy.
Okay.
And also
Good to know.
to be super transparent. Also, some clients they even tell me it's too cheap, but it's 7.5 for one account.
Okay.
But as you already mentioned, I mean, you have more people in your team. One is sitting in Hong Kong and so on. So maybe it would make sense to set up more people directly with a team plan. So the team plan is not only more accounts, an enterprise deal. It's more you only pay for what you actually need, what you actually consume. So we measure on a monthly basis the interaction of every team member. And if they are below 8, you won't pay for that team member. So that keeps you really flexible, doesn't put a large overhead in your P&L.
Okay. All right.
And the premium services, they are more or less paid per interaction.
What's an interaction?
An interaction is being a phone call, being a face-to-face meeting, but in the classic consultant approach, you pay per hour. With us, you pay per interaction. So the phone call could also last for 2 or 3 hours. So that's a big advantage. It's about solving your issue. And next to that, of course, there's no fixed price on bespoke services, being bigger research projects.
Okay. So I can just pay every time I do a call?
Yeah, of course you pay a certain package up front, but just to give you a perspective, in the biggest package that we just sold recently, an average interaction costs around $700, and there you can directly see how cheap it is, and it's not due to the quality. I told you we have a really strict onboarding process. Just a side note, at the moment, 2 out of 10 applicants only get accepted. And I can send you also the onboarding process, because that's for most of my clients, it's really key that the quality is high. But even with this high quality, it's round about that.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Maybe you can send me some material later that we can follow up.
Yeah, sure, we'll do.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
do you think, maybe before we kick off, do you think there are other team members who might be interested in seeing or receiving a demo, your analysts, or is this more for you?
Yeah, well, maybe send me some stuff first, and I'll circulate it internally and see who's interested. And then we'll come back to you.
Perfect.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.